Ghanatube, so Mamma for snow with my sign so atenase near air costo ewo or my nuno on san Becca, Ebusian for Selena first time I will me. Our channel we so kindly subscribe. Now hitting notification bell no if I'm na in 7 years tuma when you're in ten passing send a maternity the and no my boy will be no edit bro yanko tinia course.
Minister for Trade, Industry and Agribusiness Elizabeth SUBCRIBE has called on cement manufacturers to consider some marginal reductions in the price of cement for the public. The minister made the call in an engagement with the Chamber of Cement Manufacturers on pricing and standardization here in Accra. More in this report.
The Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth SUBCRIBE, met the Chamber of Cement Manufacturers on Monday to discuss industry concerns, including standardization and product pricing. According to her, time has come for Ghanaians to enjoy the gains made on the appreciation of the cedi against major trading currencies. She therefore appealed for some reduction across board on all cement products in the local market. The minister disclosed that from the beginning of August, inspectors will be deployed from the Ghana Standards Authority as part of quarterly inspections to enforce standardization of products, adding that failure on the part of companies to meet the required standards will result in a shutdown. The manufacturers assured that if the current positive trends in the economy continue, Ghanaians are going to realize gradual reduction in cement prices.
Fitch Solutions has expressed optimism about the economic outlook of the Ghanaian economy, saying the real growth rate of the country will stay above 5% in 2025 and 2026 respectively. According to the UK-based firm, lower inflation is supporting a positive outlook for the economy. Mike Kuruninga is an associate director of Fitch Solutions and has been speaking at today's Sub-Saharan Africa macroeconomic update.
Ghana's economy recorded a pretty solid rebound in 2024, becoming one of the fastest growing economies in SSA. So as you can see on the chart on the left here, growth remained pretty strong in the first quarter of 2025, coming in above 5%. And this was driven by robust agricultural output, continued expansion in the services sector, primarily in tech and finance, and renewed momentum in gold production. So looking ahead, we remain pretty optimistic on the outlook for the Ghanaian economy. We expect GDP growth to stay around 5% in both 2025 and 2026. And so one of the key drivers behind the sustained recovery is the sharp disinflation trend we're seeing.
The Institute of Freight Forwarders has welcomed the Bank of Ghana's new set of guidelines on the application of exchange rates at the ports, arguing it will address discrepancies in the forex pricing. The Bank of Ghana, in a statement, directed players in the shipping industry that they should, from today, July 22nd, publish daily exchange rates used for invoicing on their website and communicated to customers prior to the issuance of invoices or payment. Reacting to the development, First Vice President of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Ghana, Nana Isiama Prempe the Fair, said the move will ensure transparency and alignment with regulatory frameworks.
For instance, the shipping lines, they are one of the major operators of the port. There are several shipping lines in Ghana. They all use different exchange rates. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana issue exchange rate for the week, which customs and other port operators use for the week. So every week, every Monday, there is a new exchange rate that comes. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down. Mostly, until recently, it goes up. But to our surprise, the shipping lines don't comply with that. They use their own exchange rate. And that is one of the major issues that we have been raising. And luckily enough, we are happy to hear this thing from the president through the Bank of Ghana.
Great. Ghana's business community is eagerly awaiting the mid-year budget review scheduled for Thursday, July 24. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen will present the review to Parliament, outlining the government's fiscal performance on the first half of the year and policy directions for the second half. But what are the expectations of the business community, both in the formal and informal sectors? Stefan Mizan Abbas is the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries.
Unfortunately, that it looks like the government's hand or the economy's hands are tied to the conditions of IMF, for which reason it becomes very difficult. So in as much as some of this cannot be controlled, in the areas that can be controlled, where there's arbitrary increases in taxes and all of that. That one the government should try and be mindful of that. So that brings me to a point of this 1 cedi levy, which is on petrol. Because if you are putting a levy on petrol and then you also have to increase utilities every 3 months, then we are overburdening the ordinary Ghanaian.
Right.
So where we can control, I think that we want to support the government control, and where we cannot, we want to manage it as well. So this 1 cedi levy, I think that we spoke against it. Unfortunately, the government has implemented it, but I think that it is not to the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian, and we are going to suffer. You know, once that goes up, it means that fuel is going up, and once fuel goes up, every other produce goes up.
The Ghana Chamber of Mines is calling for equitable tax reforms which will ensure that the small-scale mining industry adequately contributes to the country's tax net. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Engineer Ken Ashigbe, explains that large-scale, which is often burdened with taxes, as against the small-scale mining industry, remains one of Ghana's bedrocks for economic stability. Therefore, overburdening it with taxes could derail growth and expansion. He spoke at a press conference to outline the Chamber's contribution to socio-economic development.
Into the chamber, total mineral revenues for 2024 reached $7 billion. Of this amount, $5 billion, representing 70% of total revenue, was retained in the country, underscoring the sector's commitment to contributing to socio-economic development. Speaking at a press conference, Chief Executive of the Chamber, Ken Ashigbe, called for equitable tax reforms to ensure that all players in the mining industry are taxed fairly. He also advocated for a downward review of the growth and sustainability levy to enhance investment by large-scale mining companies.
Government needs the money of all of us. We all need to contribute to that particular one. And again, in a period where we are hearing that the small-scale miners might be, producing as much as the large-scale miners are producing. If the large-scale miners are generating totally 17.7, then maybe what we should do is reduce that GSL a bit and then get that sector to also contribute to that. What can we do to ensure that the $11.4 billion, for example, that is lost to Ghana can come in? If you did that and then you left a lot of resources, made a lot of resources available to the industry, a lot more investment could go into that.
The Chamber lauded the revision of the fiscal terms of the Ewoya lithium project. The Chamber's Chief Operating Officer, Ahmed Naktogma, expressed optimism about the ongoing negotiations.
We've been talking, and I know you bear witness that we've talked about it, and now we thank God that a lot of progress is being made, and the government has made an announcement that it is being reviewed. So we hope that maybe before this next parliament rises, there will be a ratification of that lease. But just take into consideration the changes in the price from 3,000 to 600. And all those things. So there has to be, definitely have to be a renegotiation, a review of all the things that were in the first lease so that they can be more competitive.
Engineer Kenneth Ashigbe shed more light on the sector's impressive contribution to the country's economy.
Corporate taxes is 10.3 billion, mineral royalties 4.9 billion, employee PAYE was 1.5 billion cedis, dividends was 1.03 billion, and others was 75.3 thousand Ghana cedis as well. And then social investment, the total amount that was spent was $28 million.
The large-scale mining sector contributed a total of 17.6 billion cedis in tax revenue to government, making the mining sector the largest tax contributor in Ghana.
Yebusiafo yakwakotie eye ensem no aba obetimi eja comment ama me na meji bre na makenkan ni nyina e de ama ansa na mesoro muso midin ene snowy sisi ade makram.